All right, welcome everyone to our Economic Inclusion Summit. This is the second time that we've had an economic summit. This one is focusing on inclusion, and so I am glad that you all are here. I will be speaking, and Kevin Kimball is going to be speaking. I'm going to introduce him shortly, but we are going to jump right in just a moment. Here we are. All right, this is my bio. Most of you guys know who I am. I'm an entrepreneur, consultant, ministry leader, president of businesses and nonprofit ministries. I'm on 7 boards of directors, and I lead Kingdom of LLC, a Bible-based business coaching firm. I'm creating wealth to do the most good. We're actually starting our impact healing movement, which you guys, if you're on that email list, you've been getting those emails from me. So hopefully you will want to continue to be involved. There'll be more shared later, or actually there's more shared on the table. And those of you who are on the email list will get more emails soon about that movement. I'm also on the Financial Services Innovation Coalition's Minority Policy Priorities Task Force. And so Kevin is actually one of the co-founders of FSIC. And so he's going to talk to you guys about the Financial Services Innovation Coalition. He shared a little bit last time, but we are starting an initiative here, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about because we've got work to do in Virginia. And so there's some things I want to go over with you as we get into this. I want to give you some definitions as we go in. There's a reason we're talking about, we're having an economic inclusion summit. So economics is of or relating to the economy. The economy is the wealth and resources of a country or region, especially in terms of the production or consumption of goods and services. Inclusion, when we're looking at it in this particular sense, is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized. And so we're definitely wanting to make sure we look at those populations in our community. That's why this one is focusing on inclusion, because we are going to address how do we deal with those marginalized communities that will possibly become even more marginalized if we don't connect. So here's some economic truths. Federal, state, and local governments have a lot of wealth that they must determine how to appropriate. We want to help them make those decisions. Now, most people ask, why economics when there's so many other issues on the table? The reality is money pushes issues. If you care about anything in this country, you care about youth, you care about animals, you care about the environment, if you care about the unborn, if you care about it doesn't matter what you care about. You care about God, if you care about religion, money is going to determine whether or not that issue is in the spotlight and addressed appropriately. Money will also keep it from being addressed. Money will keep information, education from getting to people about that issue. But money can provide opportunities for people to learn more about it. So the talking about economics causes us to actually address everything else. So when we're addressing economics, we address all of our societal ills. And that's how it works. Most people are not aware that, when Dr. King was working half a century ago, he was moving in the realm of economics. That March on Washington was the poor people's March on Washington. It was focused on economics. In order for him to address economics, he had to deal with race and color and Jim Crow and stuff like that, because they affected the economic condition of the people in the community. And this is why we're looking at economics. And this is important because most people say, well, everything's not about money. The Bible says money answereth all things. Doesn't mean that money is the most important thing. It means that when you have funds, resources, you can do the other things that need to be done. And so this is going to be important for you no matter who you are, and it's certainly important in our community. And so we want to make sure that as we're influencing the federal, state, and local governments about how to appropriate the funds that are at their disposal, we want to make sure that they're focusing on things that are going to build wealth. Things that help businesses thrive, that help people get jobs and keep jobs, things that are going to affect people's paychecks, taxes, spending, development. Like, these things are very important. We want them to be focusing on these things because that's going to allow people's daily lives to improve. When people's lives improve, we see things in our community generally improve. There's an overall improvement. So, healthcare and things like that, all types of services, all of that has to be funded. And so we want to make sure that we are influencing the government officials to fund the things that matter to everyday people. Please know that in all of these levels of government, there is money that goes to stuff that never in any way affects the regular life of everyday people. But money is still appropriated to those things anyway. That's a fight we've got to fight. So now some wealth destroyers are excessive regulations. Those things don't tend to happen at the federal or the state level. They happen at the local level, which is why we need to be at city council meetings. Excessive taxes. Now they can happen at the federal level. They can also happen at the state level. And we want to make sure that even the fees on businesses and personal income, those are not excessive. And those happen at both the state and at the local level. So we want to make sure that we are involved in all these different levels of government. Now, don't get overwhelmed. That's why Kevin is here. He's going to talk to us about how we can do a little bit to make a lot of difference. Now, we, of course, have to make sure that we connect on all these levels. In the local government level, there's the city council, the board of supervisors, and Henrico. In the state level, there's the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the general assembly delegates. Now, please understand this. We just had an election in Virginia. I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. In which case, we will have a new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general in January. We also had an election for all the delegates. All the delegates had to be either, voted in again, or we have new delegates. And so when we look at the General Assembly in Virginia, that's going to be like Congress on the federal level. It's like Virginia State Congress. And so those delegates represent all the districts in Virginia. And we want to make sure that we know who they are and we are influencing them to actually make a change in the lives of everyday citizens in Virginia in particular. Then, of course, you want to know how to connect with your federal senators and representatives in the House. And these are, of course, some suggestions as to how you can do that. Now, I usually talk to you guys about President Trump's big, beautiful bill. I'm going to go over that briefly because I've shared a little bit about it. I shared at the last economic summit, the Economic Equity Summit, and I shared in some other venues, and I've shared little clips and videos about it. And because the government shutdown, it should be coming to an end, I don't have to really mention that too much here, except to pause and say this. The agreements that were made on federal spending to end the government shutdown that we see happening on that federal level in Congress and the House and the President, all of them having to vote, what I need you to understand is that was a temporary agreement. We could be right back here in January. And there were some leaders who had to bend. They had to compromise in order to make that shutdown end, in order for the government to open back up. And because we are in Virginia, when the government was shut down, the income of Virginians decreased significantly because of Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia has a whole lot of federal employees. Then when you look at the military areas like Tidewater, lots of employees that are federal as well, not just government, but government contractors. So a lot of federal employees were not getting paid. Some got laid off. And so it affected the Virginia income, the median income in Virginia, tremendously. And so we can't, as Virginians, being, this state that's right on the border of D.C., being that first colony, we can't neglect what's happening at the federal level. We can't just be focused on Virginia. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the Central Virginia Economic Initiative that we're starting, but please understand, it is for all Virginians. We are here in Central Virginia. The capital of Virginia is right here. This is where we are. We're in Richmond, Virginia. So we will be focused on affecting change in the capital here in the state of Virginia. But we will also be focused on affecting change in Washington, D.C. up the road. Because what happens in the federal level affects us in the state level and in the local levels as well. So kind of want to make sure you guys understand where we're going. I'll share a little bit more about that as we go forward. But one thing I do want to share with you guys, and some of you guys may have seen some of my posts and things like that, is that we've got to come together in this Central Virginia Economic Initiative, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, Because what we're seeing right now is that democracy and capitalism are both failing, both of them. Democracy is designed so that there are varying political views, various political parties, and those views come together to kind of bring our politicians and our leaders to a tempered kind of middle ground. This ensures that people's needs are met and we don't vacillate between extremes. Because in order for anything to get done, people with opposing views have to compromise with each other. That's what happened to end this government shutdown. But it only happened because it was desperate. Planes weren't flying, because the air traffic controllers weren't getting paid. Like, it has affected the entire nation. And so some leaders finally said, we're going to have to just step up and be leaders first, sacrifice even some of the agenda that's important to us to make sure that we do, have a government that is working. But that's supposed to happen across the board all the time. That's how democracy is designed to work. People are supposed to influence our leaders. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to vote. Every vote counts. We're supposed to then hold them accountable to the things that they said they were going to do. We are then supposed to pay attention to what's happening with the political parties and the leadership of the government. And because they're having to work together in order to make things happen, it's supposed to temper what happens in this country. What we are seeing is extreme politics and extreme policies that are either far right or far left, and both sides keep upping the ante, which is causing the other side to become even more extreme. That is dangerous for regular citizens, and it will cause democracy to fall apart, because it leads to unrest and chaos, was exactly what democracy is supposed to keep us from, because we're supposed to be participants in the system. If I'm participating, there's no need for me to riot or to do any of those things, because I'm participating. But when we see this extremism, unless it's, your side's turn, you're going to be up in arms. And guess what? Just as we saw, and not just in Virginia's election, but all across the nation, when we see things extremely on one side, in the next election, what's going to happen? It's going to go all the way to the side, because people are going to be discontented. People are not going to be happy with the results, because they are extreme. And so now we are seeing a vacillation between extremes, which is leading to absolute destruction. And I'm not just talking about citizens who are upset, who are disgruntled about what's happening. I'm talking about policies that are put in place. And it takes sometimes 4, 5, 10 years to address a bad policy and its effects. So it's so important that we get involved right now. And then we will not have to wait to see the fruit of everything that's happening in this season in 10 years, in 20 years, because this fruit is not going to be good fruit. Please understand it. It's bad now, but it will bear even more problems in the next decade or 2 decades. Things that the next generation will be wondering what in the world happened during our generation. Let us not give them that legacy. And instead step up and do what needs to be done in our nation. Now, when you look at capitalism, capitalism is a free market that actually legally prohibits monopolies. So that's supposed to be competition between businesses, this business competing, this business competing. We're supposed to be having these businesses compete with each other, which gives us the best prices and the best products and services. When businesses compete, consumers win. However, though we have laws against monopolies, we are seeing monopolies. Monopolies in certain industries, monopolies in contracting. We are absolutely seeing monopolies. People who get in and they stay in and nobody else can get in. And it's because policies are being written to undercut the newcomers, the small guys. That is not what capitalism is designed to do, because then those big boys that stay in forever, they can do whatever they want to do, and that is bad for the consumer. That is bad for the everyday citizen. So we're seeing both of these systems kind of fall apart, and people are looking at their paychecks. They're looking at their bank accounts. They're looking at their expenses, but nobody's saying I need to affect change at the policy level. That's what's happening. It's the policy level that's causing these problems. We do have to affect change at that level so that then we can actually get back to democracy and capitalism, which will create better lives for all of us in Virginia and in the nation. So now, remember I shared with you guys that there were some gains, like an increase in standard tax deduction in President Trump's big beautiful bill. Tax deductions for seniors. There's a focus really on family. You see that a lot. There's a lot of different things in there for families. But there's a lot of losses that we need to understand. Those who have Medicaid and SNAP are going to get hit hard. And we're actually seeing that already. We're seeing it trickle in a little bit now. But when 2027 hits, this is going to hit really hard. And it's going to shift all types of finances away from those who actually need these services. Healthcare is also being hit. And so we want to pay attention to what's happening and what's going on in the lives of the citizens in Virginia, because what affects one of us will eventually affect all of us. Most people don't believe that. But in this society, it's absolutely true. So we want to make sure that we then step up and make a difference, not just at the policy level, but also at the program level. There's some things we can do programmatically to make a difference. And so if ministries and businesses come together, we can actually catch people who are falling through the gap. So businesses are going to be capped at how much of a tax refund we can receive for our charitable donations. That can actually cause giving to decrease by 65%. Now, if giving decreases by 65%, certain nonprofits will be forced to shut down. That's going to stop services from reaching people who need those services. So, what do we need to do? We need ministries and businesses to work together. Y'all know I say this all the time. I've been saying it for like 15 years, that when ministries and businesses collaborate, the everyday citizens win. But guess what? So do the ministries and the businesses. And let me tell you how. That collaboration causes businesses to then tell people about the ministries that are supporting them. And so what do people do? They join those ministries. The ministries get bigger. When ministries then tell their congregants about the businesses that are supporting them, people patronize those businesses. So then if there's that type of relationship where ministries and nonprofits are displaying on their websites or on their walls the businesses that are now contributing to them, those businesses can call that an advertisement, not a charitable donation, and get 100% tax deduction for that, even under the big beautiful bill. It's called a goodwill advertisement. Now, if businesses are doing that, and then the congregations are saying, go patronize these businesses, they care a lot about our community. When that occurs, then the businesses are going to grow because they're going to have more customers. And not just any type of customers. I'm going to tell you, when your spiritual leader recommends something, it's more powerful than a commercial. It really is, because that's the person whose opinion you already trust. So if their recommendation comes, you're definitely going to trust that this is a place that you should patronize. Again, the same thing happens when those businesses are sharing, hey, this is a ministry we support, this is a nonprofit that we support. People then, well, I was looking for a place of worship. Businesses and ministries need to grow in this season. And if we're actually working together, we can help each other to grow. Additionally, if we start to move in volunteer programs, the people who have SNAP benefits and Medicaid benefits who are now going to need to prove that they are part-time training or volunteerism, they will actually be able to prove it by working in those businesses and ministries. These are programs we can put in place to actually help people keep their benefits while they're learning some type of marketable skill and solving some type of problem in our business or our ministry. All that takes is collaboration. It's not hard work, and it's really smart work, but it takes us actually having to get out of our comfort zones and make these connections. Now, let's talk about our new leadership. We got some new leaders in Virginia. So, all three of them campaigned on standing with the little guy economically. I'm paraphrasing, of course, none of them said those exact words. But they all said that they wanted to help poor families. They all said they wanted to help people who were struggling and develop jobs and do workforce development and build businesses. They all said that. All of them made those type of promises. And we have it on video. It was in their ads. It was in their interviews. Why am I saying this? Because we need to hold them accountable to the promises that they made concerning the economics in Virginia. They campaigned on that very thing. So we got to hold them accountable for it. Now, how do we hold them accountable? Well, there's power in numbers. If we come together across Virginia in this coalition, this initiative, which is part of the coalition, the FSIC, and then we have meetings with them, draft letters to them, and share with them what the needs really are to influence what they're pushing with regard to policy, and they ignore us, we can let them know how many people they are in fact ignoring. How many people do you represent? How many opinions are you able to influence? How big is your social media following? How big is your social group? How big is your business, your ministry, your organization? You are not just you. You are a part of a family, you're a part of a community, you're a part of legal entities. And you influence people by everything you say and you do, because y'all know it's all recorded now, because videos are all everywhere about everything that we do all the time. That's what we do. We become a social media community. But if I'm doing that, shouldn't I be using that influence to make a difference? Shouldn't I be using that influence to actually help people improve their lives? It's that simple, you guys. It's that simple. So let me tell you about this initiative. This is my contact information. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But I want to encourage you to join the Central Virginia Economic Initiative, boosting the economic prosperity of businesses, ministries, and citizens. So, what are we going to do for businesses? Help businesses secure more contracts and reach more customers. Kevin's going to talk to you guys a little bit about the contracts. We want to help businesses to retain more profit by paying less taxes. That's what I've just shared with you guys. One, we want to influence policy concerning taxes. And two, we want to help them to understand what they can do that actually helps the community and also puts money back in their pockets. I've just shared one strategy with you just now. How will we help boost the economic prosperity of ministries? Increasing membership in ministries. I just shared a little bit about how that works. Increasing tithes, offerings, and business donations given to ministries. Now, that's something that I actually do. It's a part of the teaching and training I do through both the Truth in the Spirit and Kingdom of LLC. These are services I actually offer to ministries, and it's free. Ministries that are part of this initiative, I'll absolutely be supporting them with the products and services that I already provide. And that's one of those things. Helping ministries make a greater impact in the community. Well, we've already talked about it. They're connecting with businesses in the community, connecting with concerned citizens. They're going to be much more likely to make a difference. Citizens. How will we help individual citizens? We'll help them increase their income through skills training, education, and coaching. We'll direct citizens to programs that boost their economic prosperity. And will train citizens to advocate for policy changes that boost the economic prosperity of businesses, ministries, and themselves, individuals. Because it takes people to do that. Somebody's at the door. So we've got to make sure that we come together. And I want to encourage you, honestly, it'll be maybe bi-monthly. We don't even have to do it. I really think we can do 2 times a month online, to actually receive some strategies, focus our attention on what we need to do, and then we will galvanize, sometimes in Richmond, sometimes in DC, and those will be scheduled based off of what's happening. If we've got to go and meet with someone, if we've got to, go to an event, there's different things we'll need to do, and those will be scheduled when they're needed. But our meetings, we can spend 2 hours a month and actually coordinate what needs to be coordinated when we come together. It's that simple. And so, I do want to take you guys to my website. So, it says up there to go to marquitabrooks.com. And so, I'm going to show it to you on the screen. Because I have added, so that's today's event. Some of you signed up. There's a little sign up form right there. And in the message, just tell me you want to join this Central Virginia Economic Initiative. That way I'll have your contact information and won't be any question. I will reach out to you, I'll email you. I'm gonna add phone to that, Kevin. Because Kevin just said that we have to call people. Y'all know I don't like making phone calls. Because I'm visual. I mean, on the phone, I can't see you. I like to interact like this, or I like to interact online. I still can see you. But I'm gonna add phone to that. I'm gonna add phone number to that. So you guys can go to marquitabooks.com, fill this form out, and then it will come right to me. So I have a record of people who signed up. I thought about giving y'all a sign up sheet today, but y'all know how papers work. My office is full of papers. There's stacks of papers everywhere. If you send it to me this way, I've got it stored, and I can go back and look at who wants to be involved. And we will determine together when we will have those online meetings. So nobody's like, man, I don't have any time on my schedule. Y'all know I don't have any time on my schedule. I'll go back and forth via email and calling people to find out when we should meet. And then we will schedule our bi-monthly meetings based off of what we talked about, about when we should have them. And then we'll only come together outside of that when we actually need to address something in Richmond, DC. That'll be probably, where those things will occur. Okay, so now I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Kimball, because he is going to share with us about FSIC and the support that we have to actually do this work. Like, it's not just coming from us. And so there we go. Take this off. All right, Kevin, it's all yours.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Marquita. And thank y'all for attending this this seminar, this meeting. So I'm Marquita. I'm bound to ramble. So if there are things that I need to get out that I skip over, let me know, please.
Okay.
First of all, what you guys are working on is vital and crucial and hard. This is influencing policy and government is a hard thing. I mean, people spend millions of dollars. Corporations spend tons of money. My favorite example is Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk both want to go to the moon, right? So the government had a $2 billion contract awarded to Elon Musk. Well, Jeff Bezos didn't like that, so then he sued and got the contract reopened, and his senator got involved. Eventually, they split the $2 billion between the two of them. Now, mind you, each of these guys is worth over $500 billion, and they're spending millions of dollars over $1 billion, right? I mean, it's just to show you how important they think it is that they do this advocacy. So for everybody in the room and everybody listening and people who haven't heard this yet, if you've got a contracting job, if you're a contractor, you build houses or whatever, or you're a concrete pourer or whatever you are, if you aren't fighting for government contracts, you'll never get to the level of Elon Musk, right? If you wave like that, you'll never even get in the same room as him in terms of the ability to get. I mean, his Tesla got $2 billion from the government. I mean, like, these guys get money from the government all the time. So Marquita and I we go back and forth on this piece, but when we talked about the government shutdown, for the longest time at FISIC, we've been in favor of a shutdown. Right? We cannot imagine, like, we're against increasing the debt ceiling. Right? It makes no sense for us to borrow money to send Elon Musk to the moon. Yeah. I mean, that's a ridiculous concept, right? So we're like, shut the government down, bring it to a halt, and then decide what they want to pay for. Like, stop borrowing money. Whatever we would decide we want to pay for is what we get. If nobody wants to pay for food stamps, then nobody gets food stamps. If nobody wants to pay for public housing, then there's no public housing. But it makes no sense to borrow $1 trillion a year that our kids are going to have to pay for through some austerity program, meaning no Social Security or whatever that is. We're against that concept. So FISIC, I didn't do any background on FISIC. So FISIC is the acronym for Financial Services Innovation Coalition. Founded in 2012, we were originally focused on access to credit for underserved communities. That was coming right out of the crash of 2008. People didn't have that. There was a data point that 50 or 60% of the population didn't have $300 for an emergency. So we were working on the low-income credit issue. I had, at a previous time in life I was working on, I created what's now known as the non-bank charter at OCC, which will allow non-banks to operate like banks across state lines to provide more credit options. In any case, through the traveling and working on that project, figured out that the biggest problem for Americans, especially African Americans, but Americans in general, which has come full circle today, is not access to credit, but access to income. Our incomes aren't growing, right? That's what's killing us. Now that turns into an affordability crisis that we're talking about today, right? Everyone's talking about affordability. Well, affordability is a function of lack of income for people, right? So we started this whole process, and then when once we start working on income, we realized there's all this discrimination. Like, it really is, like, what's the saying? Black people always complain about racism, whatever. And like, well, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't to get you, right? I mean, there really is racism at the core that's holding it back the population. I mean, we're less than 1% of everything, right? Talk about government contracts. We're less than one of in New Jersey, they did the number. I say this all the time, so if you've heard me talk, you've heard me say this, but I won't stop saying it until it's no longer a fact. Blacks in New Jersey get 0.1%, 1.4% of government contracts. So that's 14 cents for every $100, right? I mean, how can you have wealth if you're cut out of billions of dollars right off the break? And there's 10% of the contractors are black, and they get 0.14% of the contract. So that's, and I will say that every time I talk, like, if you know me, you know that I'm consistent. If tomorrow I see me talking to other people, I'm going to say the same exact thing, because there is no way forward unless we fix that problem. That is it. So what Marquita is doing here and talking about going to the state, one of the first parts of your initiative should be to get the governor of Virginia to tell you what percentage of contracts go to black people in Virginia. We need to know that number. Right? That is a big deal. And we talked about money. So this is all about money. But there's a quote from an old mentor of mine that I always use. He said, "If you have a problem that can be solved by money, you don't have a problem, unless you don't have any money, because that's a problem." So this is about us fixing that our access to money, our ability to make money, because we don't have a capitalist society. We're not capitalists. I mean, 2008 proved my last day on Capitol Hill was the day first time they voted down the bank bailout. Right, so I was for that. I told my boss, I said, I urged him to vote against it. Too much political pressure for him to do it. I said, it's a bad idea to bail out these banks. I mean, they've done a poor job. They're going to make a lot of money. They're not going to help people. It's just a bad deal. So we voted for them, and it's only gotten worse. Right? Bailing them out only made the situation worse. They got rich. They figured out ways to not share with 30 million people, 20 million people lost their houses during that process. Right? I mean, and now we're talking about people can't afford to buy a house till they're 40, right? And they want to give them a 50-year mortgage. So you're paying. So I mean, the whole concept is just wow. It's mind-boggling, but that's because we have not engaged, right? I mean, we let Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos spend ungodly amounts of money lobbying for whatever they want. The banks are on the hill. Like this, you talk about the shutdown and the airlines. Like, so airlines were complaining during COVID. The first people to go to the hill during COVID were the airlines asking for money, right? So all these people were asking for money all the time, and we're letting them cut food stamps. And I don't know if you guys know much about food stamps, but 10% of the food stamp recipients, so like 4 million people, get like $20 a month. I mean, so we're fighting for scraps, and they're running, and we can't get jobs. So one of the things we're circling back on in this inclusion fight is, DEI was a fallback position from affirmative action, right? Which is a fallback position from set-asides, which is a fallback position from quotas, which is a fallback position from anti-discrimination. So you start with anti-discrimination. Everything after that is almost like some sort of charity. Like they're doing us a favor by making these things available to us, right? The Constitution says you can't discriminate, but instead of having to prove, instead of all these companies having to prove every hire was not discriminatory, right? We gave them these outs, but then of course someone would sue and say, well, that's unfair advantage. So it's fine. Let's go to Wall Street. Let's go to Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan and find out all the people he's hired. How come he's never hired any black people? And prove why he hired every white person that he hired, right? Now he doesn't want that because he's cut all kinds of crazy deals, right? Who knows why he's hired? Somebody's a friend of a Saudi prince, but they don't want to prove why they never hired any black people. But that's what we have to get back to, and that's what this whole initiative in Virginia, forcing the governor of Virginia to prove why black, contracting, which I'm sure is going to be like everywhere else, is under 1%, right? And how we can make them, then they can then do some sort of remedial actions to fix that problem once they've proven that it's been discriminatory. And so that's a big part of what this economic piece has to start with, right? Same with every job, right? We were working with, like, blacks make up less than 1% of airline pilots. We're 5% of doctors, right? We're less than 1% of utility linemen. Well, why is that? I mean, it can't be that we can't climb a pole, right? So that means somewhere there's some discriminatory action taking place that's stopping us from getting up there. So we make these companies prove why they aren't hiring. Like, well, if you're not discriminating, prove why'd you hire Jimmy and not Tyrone? Or why is there 30 Jimmys and 0 Tyrone? Every Tyrone gets rejected. What is the nation? And so we've got to fight. That's the fight that's the baseline fight we have to have. And at PHYSIC, they got to throw a lot of data out. So we do a lot of research. That's one of our big things, is knowing the numbers, right? And we're very fortunate to have a lot of experts in our universe. We have a couple of economists. We have a lot of experts. Marquita's with Bizza. We're going to use her in New Jersey. We're going to get her to testify in New Jersey about, how they can manipulate government contracting to be discriminatory and make it look like maybe it's not, right? So we're going to work on that. But we've got, Lynn out of Minnesota. She's a contract expert. We've got Brad Anderson, who has a thing called OSIP, Owner-Controlled Insurance, which is a government contracting boost for underserved or minority contractors. And we're going to keep fighting these fights, and that's what is our goal. So we've got now and thankfully Marquise has been a great partner, and the person who brought her in, the person to blame for this is sitting over there. Tracy makes people do all this stuff, but the central, adding Central Virginia Economic Initiative to the New Jersey initiative and the Minnesota and all the other initiatives we have around the country, we're very fortunate. We have people in France who work with us, so we're international at this point in terms of our ability to get data, expertise, and work. Every month we publish a journal, which will go online now at whatever website that Marty she can send that out to everyone. So every month you'll see we write a journal has 5 or 6 articles about economics called the Modern Economic Journal. Every Monday we have a TV show called State of the Union. It's online now, and so it's on the Culture Network, Culture Collective Network, I think it's called. And so we're continuing. Like this coming Monday, tomorrow's show is going to be about healthcare, antitrust, and anti-competitive behavior that's causing black doctors and black-owned healthcare facilities to go out of business. Right? So yeah, there's a huge effort by the bigger. So you're talking about antitrust, the bigger institutions to capture the patient base of black healthcare facilities. So there's 2 in PG County alone, but everywhere we turn, there's like another one we find. So it's like 13 or 14 that we've come across where the big either healthcare facilities or the big university hospital systems are trying to run them out of business. So there's a lot. I mean, I don't want to overwhelm people. It's like we're swimming in the ocean. We're not going to boil the ocean overnight, but we pick 1 or 2 of these and move forward. Can you show the letter that you guys the journal? Here's a copy of the journal. Okay. Marquita's. She was featured last month in July or August.
I was featured in August.
She was in August, so I don't know if you can put that out.
Okay. There's the journal.
Yeah. So that's the journal.
That's me. There's my article.
There you go. In the government contractor process. So we try to keep everybody informed. People always ask me, we didn't know all this, or tell me we didn't know all this data, we didn't know this, so we're doing our best to educate people. Your husband didn't even know you had an article. I can go on. Anything you want me to cover here that I did not cover?
Let me ask some questions.
Sure.
And you answer, like I know the answers, but they don't know the answers. Okay. And so, but they're gonna need to hear it. So, Kevin, if I want to get involved, if I'm a person who's interested in being involved, do I need to know the statistics
No,
of what's happening
No.
around me?
that's what we're here for. That's what we're
Okay,
here
so
for.
you guys know statistics, you provide those stats.
Yes, correct.
What if I don't really know a lot about what's happening, in politics? How will I get to know what's going on?
It takes time. Being a part of this, coming to these meetings, reading the stuff that you get sent, watching the shows. It's a process. I mean, there's again, for every issue out there, there's a whole lot of problems. So there's no way, no one person can know it all. I unfortunately have nothing else to do with my time, so I read all this stuff, and people send me stuff, so that's all I do. But for most people, this is something that it's a little bit. I mean, how was your experience? I mean, how did you?
I'll tell you guys what I do. I'll go, hey, I'm thinking about this issue, Kevin. Do you guys have any info on it? And he'll send me a text message with, read this article, read this report. and it'll be right there what I was thinking about, what I wanted more information on, so that I don't have to feel like I have to do all the research. For most people, that's our thing. I'm not doing no research. I like researching, but in this season of my life, I don't have time for it. And so I come to Keith and I go, hey, give me the data, give me the articles, give me the reports.
I just had a question. My question is, it seems like we as a people are trying to fit into a system that wasn't really designed for us. Are there any initiatives where we get back to taking care of our own people, taking care of us?
So probably some, but if you think about it historically, we tried that during Jim Crow, and that didn't go very well, right? I mean, Wendy Muhammad, who's one of our researchers, and she runs a museum in Chicago.
And she'll be on the State of the Union tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. She's our healthcare expert too. And we were talking about this, and she so there were like 800 black towns created during Jim Crow that were all destroyed.
Right.
Like you've heard of Tulsa in Oklahoma. Well, there were 30 cities in Oklahoma that were destroyed. Right?
Richmond was destroyed.
Richmond was destroyed.
Yeah.
So
And we had a Black Wall Street destroyed.
And that's the thing. It's like every time we try to, get a leg up, someone comes along and just takes the carpet right out from under us. There has to be a way, I don't know. That's the big question.
Yeah.
How do we go about being independent from the system and be successful without someone coming and doing something like that?
yeah, I mean, we're never going to be. I don't believe that being outside the system is going to work. We're going to have to work within this. That's why Dr. King and those guys worked so hard to make the system more equal, right? Because they knew from their experience that being outside the system was not. They weren't going to let them be successful. So they had to, and those first couple. So twice in American history, you had this happen. Like during Reconstruction, where there was protections and the black people were able to start to rise up before Jim Crow hit.
Right.
And then coming out of the civil rights movement, we had a big surge. Right. So there are ways, but again, we kind of fell off as people. We stopped fighting.
Right.
Like the CEO of the president CEO of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who we do a lot of work with, tells me this story. Like we're talking about this thing about advocacy, and he goes, "Yeah, people always say, what can we do when these things are terrible? What are we going to do?" And he said, first thing I say, well, give me $1,000 so we can fight for what? He said, that shuts down 99.9% of the conversations. So I think some of this within us, we have to get engaged. Like, I have a friend who has a conservative organization. He's an African American guy actually, and but he sends out, and every month people send him $20, $25, so much so that he raises like $2 million a year, just to be on that side. But you can't get 50 people to send $20 to the SCLC, and so that's part of it. But I mean, the reason why we do this is so we can work with the government and to make sure that we're still voters. We still have to pay taxes. We still have to do all this stuff. So we should be getting our fair share of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question. So you know how some people keep saying that data centers are impacting our community? I guess I don't understand what they mean. What's the harm in the data center?
They use up a lot of electricity and a lot of water.
Okay.
And we as individuals pay for those things. So that's why I don't know if you noticed your light bill has gone up or anything like that, but that's the data centers. And we didn't go to the public utility meetings to make sure they spread the pain, so they passed these rules and let them build this without having to contribute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more environmental
Resource, it's a resource.
resource, okay.
There's a concept called freedom cities.
You sent that.
That's it, that yeah. So there's a concept, basically, it would allow very rich people, like, if you want to build like 100 of them, rich people to have their own tax-free, regulation-free zones, right? Where they could build their own nuclear power plants. Like, Jeff Bezos wants to buy 3 Mile Island because they all want to have, they need energy for these data centers. And so there's a lot of effort to, because they're very expensive, very resource. Like I said, a data center takes like 300 billion acres of water or something like that to run in a year.
Wow.
Yeah. To keep them cool and all that.
Cool, yeah. That just makes me think about people that do mining for crypto.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they have to have all that cooling and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep everything running smoothly.
Yeah. Totally. Cool. Any more questions?
So yes, well, actually, I'll make a statement instead of asking a question. I think it is important to note that as we're going forward in the Central Virginia Economic Initiative, that we are inviting people to join us from both sides of the aisle. You know, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Just the goal is for us to come together and unite, to work together. Like as I was sharing earlier, we need to do this. We need to be able to do this. And something I've shared, people in my ministry have heard me say this many times, but in 2016, the Lord said to me specifically to tell his people to come out of the right and the left into the aisle and walk down to the altar to meet him there as his bride. Point being that we should not be extreme in our political views. We should not be pointing fingers at other people. We should not be on soapboxes, you know, and we should instead be really looking to make a difference and willing to work with people who may not agree with us completely, but who also want to make a difference in the community to get things done. As long as we are allowing ourselves to be polarized, I told you politics is getting more and more extreme. As long as we are allowing ourselves to be polarized, we will never get anything accomplished for the African American community, the immigrant community, children, women, like, you know, whatever group you care about, that group's gonna lose out. Because the groups that's really pushing this are the groups that have the most money and the most influence. And so we've got to come together and say, you know, that other stuff doesn't matter. What matters is, can people eat? Do people have jobs? Our business is growing. You know, we've got to be able to affect that type of change. And we need to hold leaders accountable on both sides of the aisle. Not just holding one group accountable and letting the other group go and not caring what they do. No, sir, that has gotten us here. Everybody's willing to close their eyes when people that they like are doing some terrible things. No, sir. We need to be holding everybody accountable equally, because that actually gives us a bigger platform and it reveals our integrity. We care about the law. We care about people's lives. And it doesn't matter to us who's breaking the law. And it doesn't matter to us, you know, who is suffering. If there is suffering, we want to address it. And so we've got to have that mindset going forward. Yes, sir.
Now my question is, how do you go from this platform to getting an audience with those people in policy makers?
Elected officials? So first thing you've got to sort of internalize is that they work for you. So it's not a question of will they have a meeting with you. They're your, you know, the only reason why they feel they can ignore you is because you don't vote them out of office. Like, you know, Marquis and I had this conversation with her congresswoman. She asked her to do something, she didn't do it. So well, there's no reason to have one. Would you suffer an employee who didn't do what you asked them to do? No. So why do you let an elected official stay in office? I mean, they're just they're not our leaders, they're our representatives.
Right.
And
if they're not representing.
Right, if they're not representing. So that's, we let too many people off the hook. I think that is part of the process.
So are there plans going forward to actually meet with these officials?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were working on, yeah. So did you send you don't have your letter. So we sent letters. I mean, Marquita sent a letter to the congresswoman about a tax bill.
I did.
So, and you know, when we come to DC, you have enough. So yeah, so I mean, that's the process.
So who would actually speak with them? Would you be the one to speak with them?
Marquita or some other people, leaders, you know, you guys.
So in our group that we're building, we would determine among us who is the best person to communicate with that person. But we still do. So like when I communicate, I say I'm communicating with you as a ministry leader and a business owner. And I say that to let them know that I represent the people in my business, I represent the people in my ministry and in my networks. And so like if we were dealing with something on healthcare, then we would have one of the nurses. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I just think it's just us using that type of wisdom. But within our group, somebody can always reach out, and we should reach out when it's time to do so, when something is happening. And we can make a difference. We want to reach out, want to ask for those meetings, we want to send those emails, want to make those phone calls. And people are responsive when they realize that, one, you're holding them accountable, and two, it actually connects with, an area that they're working on. So, I've had, people's assistants contact me back and say, hey, let's have a Zoom call about this. Send me over the bill. I want to look at it. Like, you know what I mean? To have these conversations. I met, somebody's assistant at one of your meetings, and then we were like, hey, I just sent, your representative this letter. Did he read it? Like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. Like, and so we just have to become involved. And the more involved you become, the more educated you'll be. But the truth is, you don't need all this higher knowledge that we think we need. You have knowledge of life, what life is like for regular citizens, and that's the perspective we have to be able to share with our elected officials, so they actually represent us rightly as we're going forward.
That's why I mean, it's totally. They work for you. You hired them for a job, like your doctor. Like, your doctor's an expert in his field, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's not your leader. He's still your doctor. If you don't like what he's doing, you change doctors, right?
Right.
So there's no reason for you to. There's no reason for you to be deferential to the person you elected.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just was wondering, when you have these meetings with these officials, what is your leverage? And, because if I was speaking to them, I'm only one individual. They see me as one person. But if they saw me as I'm a part of a group,
Right.
But you
a
are.
group,
Yeah.
and so that might be something that might give me leverage
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the situation.
That's what I mean. This is what we're organizing here, right? This is what
Right.
this initiative is about. It is a collection of people who you have, and you'll send letters, and you have several people sign the letters, right? I mean, 30. The guys in New Jersey did a letter to the governor, and they had 70 people sign the letter. So it's and they have 2,500 person mailing list that they do, and they do YouTube ads and Facebook ads about stuff they care about. So
Okay.
And let me just say also for you guys, when I sent my letter to my representative, I said, Keevan, do you have a letter that you guys have already written? And I'm just going to kind of use some of that verbiage and then just change it up. And they did. He sent me like, oh yeah, there's one we sent to somebody about this, blah, blah, blah. He sent it to me, and I just changed a couple of words in there, and then I sent it back out. And I say that to say that, you're not having to reinvent the wheel is
you're
the
not by
point.
yourself. Yeah, you're not by
Yeah,
yourself.
like if I had to do this, it was just me, and I had to think of all of it for them. It's too much because I have other stuff. I'm living life and running ministry business. Who has the energy for that? But to be able to say, hey, send me a letter, I'm gonna change it right quick to match up what I need to say, and I'm gonna send it out. That took me about 5 minutes, and that's what I mean. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, I think it's important to communicate the mission very clearly. I thank you for doing it the way that you're doing it. For me, I didn't really have a clear understanding as to what the end goal was.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're talking, I have an opportunity to ask questions. It gets framed out better for me, and I understand what the mission is.
Right. The mission is for people to take you seriously. That's the first part. I mean, subject by subject, like I say, we can talk about any different issue. I can talk about 100 issues. The process is what's important. The process that you are taking control of your politics
Right.
is that's the crucial part here. We can talk about dog. I mean, there are people who are making dog food products that care about that. I mean, I was in a meeting and said one time, someone asked me about it. She said, I don't care if we're talking about dog food, right? Black people should be engaged in the conversation. 3 people in the audience were making dog food.
Wow.
So it's like, so it's not the issue that matters as much as the process that we all engage in. You guys, nothing like this has existed in Northern Virginia in maybe the last 50 years, right? Maybe ever, but certainly in the last 50 years. So you guys are bringing back online that political muscle that hasn't been utilized in a long
All right,
time.
well, that's great. I just think if a person is coming into this and they're not familiar with the platform or what have you, just because I like what you said. You said it doesn't matter where you are. You're always saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So people understand, you're branding yourself, if you understand what it is that you represent, what you stand for. And I think people that are new coming into this, for the first time, it's good to kind of give them that little bit of that background, so that way, they understand what it is that they're actually connecting with.
And hopefully, these things build slowly. I mean, I don't expect you to have 1,000 people next week. I mean, you may have 10 people next week. It may take you 6 months to get to 30 people. I mean, it's because it is.
Yeah, it's just a process, like you said.
Yeah. So, but Marquita is tough, and she makes you guys do a lot of work. So I know. So everybody in this room is like signed up. There's signed up 2 people from the candle shop. They're joining. So you've got 10 people already, plus who's over on the internet. So it's
Absolutely. Yeah, some people on the internet too, exactly. And we do a lot. We definitely do a lot. And so again, this is not supposed to be laborious for us. It's supposed to be us working smart and connecting with the system that already exists, that is international, as he shared, with experts who are doing research, who are putting out data, who do have political connections, so that when we speak, we're not just speaking from us.
Right.
We're the Central Virginia Economic Initiative is a part of the Federal Financial Services Innovation Coalition. You see what I'm saying? And that's in partnership with, and there's a whole bunch of different organizations in partnership with. You see what I mean? So it allows us to just focus on what we need to do in Virginia to help businesses, ministries, and concerned citizens, and just individuals in general who want to improve their economic prosperity. But it allows us to tap into what's already established and apply it right here where we are.
Okay, so you might have answered my question. My question was in terms of the connection between the international connection and what we're trying to do here in Virginia specifically. How does that tie in? I think you just answered it by saying that whatever model or whatever they had been doing in that area can be applied to what we're doing here.
Yeah, or their expertise.
Or their expertise.
Some of them are expatriate Americans who care. And then one of the guys is a filmmaker who does videos and stuff for us. I mean, so this is a natural.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
So we're plugged into the international journalism people in Bordeaux because of our relationships. So that's
That's great.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. So it's for people who, business owners, so that they can get more contracts through the state and the city and the federal government?
I'll leave that to.
I'm gonna show you the goals that are on my heart. But like he said, if you're in the group, you help determine the goals. But these are the things that like really I know I can really get behind, because I'm actually all 3 of these things. I'm a business owner, I'm a ministry leader, and I'm a citizen.
Okay.
And so we want to, boost the economic prosperity of all 3. But the reason, not only do I represent these 3 groups, so I can speak about them, and I know people in those 3 groups, but I also know that these 3 groups, if they work together, and businesses support ministries, ministries support businesses, businesses outreach to citizens, connect with ministries, ministries outreach to citizens. If those 3 are working together, it creates like a net in our community that some of the elderly and some of the impoverished, going to fall through some cracks, will catch them. Not to mention, if those 3 groups are working together, they can actually improve the prosperity of the whole group. A ministry can help a business can help a ministry, a citizen can help a ministry. You see what I'm saying? They can actually help each other. They have not worked together, businesses and ministries. And a lot of people are staying away from ministries because, people not trusting, houses of worship anymore. And then we've got, that whole thing where the division between church and state and but that's not in the Constitution, and that's been, taken out of context and just completely perverted. And so we got to talk about how these entities should actually be working together. Because, the enemy divides and conquers. We see all this separate stuff happening. But if we can bring them together, everybody's needs are going to be met. And so this is why, listen to those 3. But as we work together, if you're in the initiative, the Central Virginia Economic Initiative, then you would help to determine how, we focus and what we should focus on. You see what I mean? And so somebody asked, let me, I'm going to rephrase the question that was asked, because I wasn't, the question was, is the goal for people to start to be a part of a group or committee, and then from there we work through that group to make the impact, yes, this is the group. This is the goal, is to be join this group that we're starting today. So that then we can do all this stuff we're talking about and not be separate individuals or separate entities, businesses, ministries, but united businesses and ministries.
I want to throw one thing out to that.
Yes, please.
With the business, like, as a researcher on physics, one of our big interests is collecting data, right? So what I said to the people earlier, what we're doing in New Jersey and Minnesota is we want to know from every minority contractor who's applied for a government contract, that we want to hear from them. Like, I got a contract, I didn't get a contract, so we can start collecting our own data. So if we decide to file a lawsuit, then we can say, well, hey, these 10 people applied, we want to know why they didn't get the contracts. So this is a data point for us.
My question was in terms of connecting with the people that will have the most impact, the business owners, the ministry leaders, and then the private citizens. What is the strategy to, I know what we're doing right now is a aspect of that strategy, but going forward, like, is there like a systematic plan or something to?
Well, let me say this. I don't know how systematic it is, but this is what I know, is that the people who would be the most influential and would help this initiative the best are the ones who are not going to say yes. The ones who would say yes is the people who we would consider to be little fish, but they have heart.
Mhm.
But when you get a whole bunch of little fish together, then the big fish start trying to figure out what's going on. That is the strategy.
Gotcha.
So basically, where is the interest? If somebody just wants to say they're part of this group, that doesn't help us. We need people who actually care and will be involved. Again, not a lot. You don't have to do a lot, but do something. Like, I meet with them once a week for 15 to 30 minutes. That's it. And then every now and then, like if somebody's out of town, we don't meet. And then I do my little letter or whatever. But it's that much. But I come to the meeting. It's on my calendar all the time. I come to the meeting.
She comes.
This is the same thing that we're requiring. And every now and then there's a summit or something else somewhere else, and I'll go to that and support that. Otherwise, I'm not doing anything. I'm just thinking about these issues. It's staying before me, keeping sending me information out. I'm getting text messages, I'm getting emails. So I'm like, oh yeah, that is going on. Thank you for that. I've read about this. Oh, now I know some more information about it. It's that informal, but it is powerful.
It's educational.
It's educational, but also it kind of
Empowering.
activates us, empowering. Yeah.
You said something else about the people are important. So I will say this, you guys have heard about all these anti-affirmative action lawsuits that have been going on, the ones that got rid of affirmative action in college, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard about those women in Georgia who were giving away those scholarships to black businesses. Like they had $10,000, $25,000 scholarships to give to black women businesses, and that guy sued to say that was discrimination against white people.
That's craziness. I did not hear that. Was insane.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, so, but I say that to say that the people on the other side of this spend a lot of money to your point about how do we get out of the system. There are people who will spend like the $250,000 in scholarships they were given. The lawsuit probably cost them $2 million.
Right.
So they'll spend $2 million to stop us. That same guy sued to get rid of minority internship programs at law firms. I mean, I'm not talking about jobs, I'm talking about internships. I mean, so these guys, so there's a process, but I say that to your point about big people, the people who you would think would be helpful in this, people who should care, like people who've gotten government contracts in the past or who were able to give set-asides or whatever and move on or never give to any of this stuff. Like they do not give, so we don't wait for them to,
Yeah, to do the work.
Right.
Got it.
Right. So, if you had to say anything, you would say this was grassroots.
Yeah, I think it's just always, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I can wait.
I was just saying, I just think it's always important to just reiterate the assignment, the mission, or what have you, just so that we always have that as the focus, what it is that what we're actually trying to accomplish.
So some of the work will determine some of this, like when Marquita sends out letters for people to sign on to, or say, ask people to make a phone call to the person or whatever. I think those things will drive, that'll start to drive the purpose.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just because with our group, a lot of people want like a store And so like in Richmond, you know, it's like so many places that people could have a store, but it's like desolate.
Yes.
Like it looks kind of bad. So like maybe that could be something that the people who are interested in, like, would that be something y'all could help us with?
Potentially.
Like if people want to store in like Jackson Ward or Brooklyn Park Boulevard.
Absolutely.
Well, not, you know, like by Virginia Union where it's like all those autos. Yeah. And people want to have a store, but it's like all these empty places, but they don't have anything.
Well, you want to have a policy where the city would use some kind of revitalization project to help them
Yes.
do that. But that's a policy, but you'd have to get the city council to approve it. But in theory, the people who want it would come together under the initiative, design what they're talking about, and then go to the city council and ask them to fund it.
Rebecca and I talk about that all the time, so that would be one we would be asking.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. God bless you.
Cool.
Because that does boost the prosperity of businesses.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, and, you know, and I can just say as a business owner, when you're looking into, you know, some of that real estate down there, and you want to have a place to have this or have that, like it's really more challenging than it should be. Shouldn't be that hard. It's challenging. And then it's like, and I'm going through all of this and I'm not even gonna have any parking. You know it's not gonna be any parking. And you still give me all this hard time. Like it actually runs businesses away. Which is what we don't want. We don't want to be running businesses away. We want to welcome businesses. And that's one thing Abigail Spanberger said. She said, we want to be inviting the businesses. We want to welcome businesses. Knock on your door, ma'am. I remember when you said that. So we got some bills here that we want to talk to you about that you can, you know, push through here to do exactly what you said. You see what I'm saying? Because we've got to get to the nuts and bolts. People speak big ideas. But if we're walking down Broad Street and I'm looking empty, and let's talk about that. You see what I mean? Yes.
Yeah, I was working for a company years back here in Richmond, and the guy must have liked me or something, because he told me about the whole plan that they had for the city. And, you know, they had to do with gentrification and so forth, and then how they were gonna transform that area. I can't remember the exact area, and they did that. And so a lot of,
Manchester or Scott's Addition?
no, this is downtown Richmond in the city. But
Or Rockets Landing maybe.
maybe, it might have been. But long story short is that a lot of times they'll hold on to real estate because they have a plan, they're not telling anybody else what it is. And so they'll let it
That makes sense.
go down. They'll let the whole area go down.
Of course.
They get it for really cheap.
They can buy it
and
cheap.
snatch it up, and then because they know the plan is to revitalize at some point, but they want to snatch it for dirt cheap.
Right, to get that. Well, no, I think one of the things you should look at, this is on the side, but what opportunity zones exist in Richmond, right? Because in this area, because one of the things we've been trying to force the federal government to do is to require opportunity funds, which are the ones who fund projects and which take the capital gains benefits.
Yes.
That's where that money goes, to force them to invest in certain areas or in certain types of projects that would help more people. So that is a policy that we had a whole piece of legislation on that at one point that we were working on to try to move, because there's trillions of dollars in that pot of money that we can't get access to.
Right. Wow.
That's when we talk about tax policy. That's one of those things that, you know, billionaires or even very rich people with capital gains haven't paid taxes in 30 years on their capital gains, right? So that's why they have so much money, which is why they're able to price people out of everything else and be monopolistic.
Yeah.
And those strategies have become more complex.
Mhm.
I'm an accountant myself and I'm certified.
Yeah.
And the mission God had given me with my business was to get that knowledge that these billionaires have, because I work for billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to. So
Yeah.
I got this drag because they can be used, but if they're not known, they can't be. And you know, started quite some time ago with that, is trying to get ministries and other businesses involved,
Yeah.
so that they can get involved. But there was just a lot of opposition.
Let's talk. We have a CDFI. So let's talk. Because that is getting people to use their CDFIs and because no black CDFI has ever gotten a new market tax allocation, except for a few black banks that have partnerships with white banks, but no black institution has gotten a CDFI or gotten a new market. So that between that and opportunities, you may just have recruited yourself for
Yeah, I heard that. I'm an accountant. I'm certified. What?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You in the group.
What's your name again? You're the head. You're the head of the task force.
Exactly.
So then you should look at our tax bill.
I heard you saying, I just didn't want to say a whole lot on the.
Oh yeah. No. So we'll send you the copy of the tax bill, the one she sent to the and see what we did for and comment on it, and then we can talk about more process. Yeah, we can definitely use the CPA.
Absolutely. You can always use a CPA. I tell
Always
people
use CPA.
all the time, 2 people you need to always have in your life: a good lawyer and a good CPA. You don't have anybody else, have a good lawyer and a good CPA. That's it. Keep them close. And you can do everything else you need to do. That's just real. So I had just displayed for you guys my website. It's marquittabooks.com. And I put in this little form right under today's event, so that you can go and you'll see it and you can sign up and say, hey, I want to join. What I'm going to do is where it says learn more here and it takes you to the link to actually like RSVP for tonight, I'm going to instead let that link to this video from today. So that if you go there, I'm going to change the verbiage and you'll say this is the video from our Economic Inclusion Summit. Watch the video and then join us. And then they come down and they fill this out. After they watch today's video, they're going to come here and fill this out. Hopefully you guys do that too. Because what people do, they'll walk past me and they'll say, hey, I'm interested. Don't do that. I'm not going to remember. Go here. Put it in this little form. And then I will have it recorded and I know who's interested. The people who say they're interested, we're going to determine when the meetings will be. You see what I'm saying? Then it'll be set, and then other people come later, then they'll just have to meet on the day that we said, because that was convenient for us. You see what I mean? And like I said, we'll probably do 2 times a month. I think we can manage that. It'll probably be less than an hour. Our meetings are 15 to 30 minutes. Like, I'm not even kidding. But we'll say, block an hour, but it'll probably be less than that. And we will, we'll discuss what's happening in Virginia. I do want to get ahead of this new administration, because, at the beginning, people want to prove some stuff. Let's let them prove it. Like, you see what I'm saying? We want to make sure we do that. Don't let them get comfortable. And then we start talking to them. Nope, right at the beginning. We want to make sure that we do that and get other people involved as well. And then please know this, for those of you who are on my Kingdom Wealth email list and the Truth in the Spirit email list, I am going to now start sending emails to those 2 email lists about this. You're going to get the articles, you're going to get the stuff like that. And then you can say, yeah, I don't want that. You can unsubscribe. But rather than saying, please subscribe, I'm just sending that to y'all. I'm telling you now, it's going to come to you. And you can be like, why are Apostle sending me this stuff? It's going to be this. It's going to be this. And then you can just unsubscribe from it if you want to. But both of those groups are going to get this info. All the stuff that's coming out of FSIC, you're going to get all that stuff, those journals and reports. All that stuff I was just telling you, you're going to get all that stuff. It's going to come right to your email. And then if you don't want to receive it anymore, you'll just unsubscribe from it. But hopefully you'll join this group, and what you're getting from them will fuel us so that we have the resource, the data, the access to other individuals. Because there's lots of people that are part of FSIC, like people who do IT, people who do AI, people who do contracts, people who are do policy. Kevin was on Capitol Hill, he does it too. So there's people who do the type of stuff we need done that are part of FSIC who support us in this effort. And so hopefully you'll join, but if you don't, you're going to be getting emails. And so I'm just forewarning you now so that you won't be upset with me, because you might still be upset, but I'm telling you now. Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, I had to step out for a minute. So it sounds like you're building a subscriber list, an email list, right? So that you can share the information with people on the list.
Yes.
My question was, I'm trying to remember what my question was. My question was, the way we're going about doing it, with having the physical meetings, is that something that is necessary? Absolutely
No,
necessary?
we're going to be online from now on. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Yeah, this is the last physical meeting summit, like for this. The Central Virginia Economic Initiative is going to meet online.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in person. It's going to be online. Anytime we come together physically is if we have to meet with one of our representatives in their office. If we're going to an event that FSIC is doing, like they have an event coming up right before your dad's birthday, actually, in DC. That'll be physical, but we don't need to meet physically. We can be right on here on Zoom in our little bunny slippers on our couch, and do what we need to do.
I miss my bunny slippers.
I know, right? So, But the point is, we want to make it as simple as possible. Sometimes, we have these live events, like the last time we had one, it was really good turnout. You have certain things because you do want to see who has the initiative, who is interested. You know what I'm saying? But after this, we'll know who's interested because you can fill out that little form, and then we'll be able to just meet on Zoom.
That makes sense.
Good question. Yes.
Can I ask a question? But it's not so much to advocate for individual people's interests. It's like if they propose something, everybody has to have like quorum and agree to work on it. Just because I feel like I know business owners who would be interested, but they may be saying, is this to work on my thing? You know
Okay,
what I
so
mean?
let me explain to you how, when I'm working with FSIC, kind of how it works and what we'll do in the Central Virginia Economic Initiative. We won't be like a formal group, like a board or something where you have to vote on what happens. If something comes forward and people are interested in it, the people in the group are interested in it, we'll work on that. So if you join it as a business owner, you're like, hey, this is what's on my heart. And I think it's important, like, as long as it's not just important to you. Like, we're not going to help you get your kitchen sink fixed. If I know a plumber, I'm just going to get called as plumber. But there's no need of the group working on that. But if you're a business owner and there's something that's on your heart that will affect other businesses and the community, then bring it to us and we will discuss. And then if there's people like, yeah, I'm interested in that, you guys can go off and talk to Kevin and we can, make something happen. So it's not going to be like where where everything that happens, every single person has to be in agreement and involved in every single thing. It's kind of more like topical and as interests happen. You see what I'm saying? So they asked me, hey, Marquita, what do you do? They didn't know I was a contractor. They knew I had the consulting business. They knew also that I was a ministry leader, but they didn't know I was a contractor. So once I said, oh yeah, I'm also a classic contractor, now they send me stuff about contracts. You see what I'm saying about construction contracts? Does that make sense? So it'll be based off of who's in the group, which is why it's good to have a diverse group because then we get to hit,
now we got a
different
CPA,
things.
right?
Exactly.
So I'll give you this. New Jersey's a good example. So they're working on contracting and getting with government, and New Jersey now has a free daycare program. Right? So that's running all the black women daycare centers out of business because they weren't getting the contracts. So now they have an initiative to go to all the mayors to find out why none of the black women are getting the contracts. New Mexico just passed free daycare. So now we got to go trying to go into New Mexico to make sure that so it's business, but it's structural. So it's not like just one. Like we're gonna be the business development person for a single person. Unless Marquita, I mean, she's got that platform. She can do it, but that's not normally. Normally, it's a systemic thing you're working on.
Right.
My question was, I've been to one of these meetings, summits in North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina.
Yep.
And there was a nice young lady who was talking about agriculture. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
But she's well known. And for someone who wanted to get more information about that and how to move forward with agriculture here,
Yeah.
how would I go about doing that?
Keisha Cobb. I think her name was Keisha
I think
Cobb.
that's what.
Yeah. I have her info. In which case, you can reach out to her directly. But I think like the power of this is that if you're interested in that and we want to bring it forward and other people are interested in what we can do in our community to acquire land and make farms, urban farms, then we can bring her in and she can help multiple people do it and we can make sure that the policies are in place that
You get the land
allow
from
it
the
to
city.
happen.
They get the city to give you the land you need and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cause remember last summit y'all had the gentleman talk about the land
Mhm.
banks?
Yeah,
I'm
that
probably
is.
saying
That
wrong.
is.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He's part of this.
Okay,
That's
that was
one of
really
ours, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, no. So we can.
We're talking about, when we talk about economics and we're talking about, how certain populations are not represented well, they're not doing well.
Mhm.
We're not doing well. And so I was thinking of ways that we could implement certain things like agriculture to supplement, our food, maybe some, a retail aspect to it, or something like that. That's something that I'm really interested in, is
The
urban farming,
community gardens, that kind of stuff.
gardens, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly, I mean, that's a perfectly, and if our C3, which is our CDFI, if you need, we have a ag tech program inside, so if you need a platform to come and help you be the base of it, to try to find, like, to work with the city or whatever, you know, let us know, we'll
Yeah, because I mean, people need training, you know,
go down to North Carolina, Roanoke Rapids, Halifax County. Superintendent down there, school superintendent is Eric Cunningham, Dr. Cunningham. He has a whole community. He has a entrepreneurship program down there where they teach kids farming and they could. So he'd be a great. You might spend some time down there. Yeah.
Okay, that's great, yeah, because I mean, I know that they have people that teach this stuff. You know, a lot of people are getting back to agriculture and having their own little gardens in the back, I speak out of necessity.
Yeah.
You know, for food. And so that's something definitely I would love to find out how to.
Well, you're in charge of the initiative to get the city to donate the land.
As well, hey, as we say, open your big mouth.
And when Thaddeus spoke of it, he talked about, you know, churches using the land that they have, and we had talked to that pastor in North Carolina who's trying to do that. And that's a wonderful partnership that a church could do with businesses as well, like, you know what I mean? And bringing in community members, and like it brings those three aspects together. So the point is that it could be small, but it also could be a big initiative. It could be something that we are working on, because this is a food desert. This area is considered a food desert. So it could actually address some of the challenges in this area. And when you go to a political leader and say, hey, this is what we're working on, you said you cared about this group. Why don't you get behind us, put your name on this? We'll say good things about you. They care about that. You see what I'm saying? They get to come and they get to take the pictures with us when we're putting the shovel in the ground. And now we need you to push some stuff through so that this works and it lasts and it doesn't hit up against regulatory issues, and it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? We need you to actually be on board for this. And so, you know, we have to know what they care about,
Right.
and kind of.
You can ask corporations for donations once you've done that whole process.
And if we put their name on it, it's advertising, not a donation. Told you.
Yeah, no, I mean, so that's, I mean, but that's exactly like I said, it doesn't matter what issue we're talking about, it's the process. I mean, so there's lots of different issues, but the process, like how you go about it, put it together.
I believe in 6 degrees of separation. Somebody knows somebody that knows
That's
somebody.
it.
You know?
That's it. It's probably less than that in this area.
Yeah.
Somebody knows somebody who knows that person, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like is that simple?
You're one phone call away.
I'm excited.
Yeah, this is
Thank
great.
you guys so much for coming online. Thank you guys for coming live in person. We did record this, and so I am going to, like I said, I'm going to put it on that where you saw it. It'll be on my site so that you can access it, and you'll be able to connect. And you will start getting stuff from FSIC. And then, like I said, you can just unsubscribe if you don't want it, but hopefully you do want it. And then please go to my site, marquitabooks.com, and sign up if you're interested, because we do need a team. It doesn't have to be everybody, but we need somebodies.
We got 3 somebodies, 4 somebodies right now.
There we go. There we go.
Signed
We
up.
need the somebodies.
Plus the other 2, so we're like at 12 people right now.
That's right. That's right. Thank you guys.
It's 12 disciples.
12.